Howdy everyone. Now, I know it's not the season to be sharky just yet, but I thought now would be a good time to make a list of shark movies for people to watch. With everyone being inside all the time for quarantine and summer almost here, why not watch some shark movies? Why not watch some movies on our favorite aquatic friend? So here's my list for 10 shark movies to watch during quarantine. These are by no means the definitive top 10 shark movies of all time, or even my top 10 personal picks of shark movies. I wouldn't be able to choose just 10. Here is just 10 good ones to watch while you're stuck at home. Let's start it off. At number 10 we have one of the highest rated movies on this list in terms of Rotten Tomatoes and critics, and that is The Shallows, a Hollywood blockbuster movie that came out in 2016. The movie stars Blake Lively as a young woman who just wants to go on vacation to a secluded beach in Mexico to deal with the death of her mother. The beach is totally secluded from basically all civilization. She just wants to get some gnarly waves, dude. Well, as she's getting some of them gnarly waves, our blue friend shows up to wreak havoc. After biting her leg and getting a lust for blood, she ends up on a rock and eventually a buoy, stranded out in the middle of this cove with a really hungry shark constantly circling her. This movie is one really mean shark. This dude just really stalked her like the whole movie and never gives up. The CGI was phenomenal on this thing, and this is probably the scariest movie on this entire list, and I could easily classify the movie as a horror movie. Blake does a fantastic job selling the real fear that a shark could induce, and it really left me on the edge of my seat. What a fantastic movie. At number 9 we have Malibu Shark Attack. Coming out in 2009, the movie obviously takes place in Malibu. It stars a bunch of lifeguards watching over the beach when after a series of tremors deep underwater, the west coast basically becomes flooded and a bunch of prehistoric goblin sharks come out from deep within the earth. All these lifeguards are then held up in a lifeguard shack. This movie is the only movie that I know of to feature solely goblin sharks. If you don't know, goblin sharks are one of the ugliest things ever created, and you get to see them in all their glory in this movie, or not glory, as they climb up the beach to try to get these lifeguards, and then eventually once the west coast becomes flooded, these things just start invading. With a goofy setup and some sharks that'll probably give you nightmares, this one is certainly interesting. At number 8 we have Shark Attack 3, and this is one of the oldest movies on the list, coming out in 2002, and was by HBO actually back in the day. The movie actually even stars John Barrowman, who would go on to be in Doctor Who. This movie has become a meme over the last decade or two, especially in the shark community, for good reason. It's about a guy who goes diving when he finds basically a giant tooth. He looks it up online at the time and can't really figure out what shark it is, and all I can say is things only escalate from there. The movie isn't exactly famous for its riveting plot, or its stellar acting minus one scene. No, the movie is famous for having notoriously bad CGI throughout the movie, and out of all the movies on this list, this movie probably is the worst CGI, with the shark constantly changing sizes and fighting in just really creative ways to get its prey. This movie is just absolute garbage, but in the best possible way. At number 7 we have Sharknado. You couldn't have a list like this and not include Sharknado. Which one? I don't know, and I don't care. Any of them. Like literally any of them will do. They all have something different to add to the table. Whether it's the now infamous first one or even the newest one with some time traveling nonsense, these movies provide a level of insanity and just hilarity that no other movies on the Sci-Fi Network can really do. All of them star the same few actors and a bunch of celebrities that make cameos as well, and each movie has a number of funny parts to it. These movies have really become a joke over the years, but it seems like we're finally done with them. I'd recommend all of them to watch, but that would be 6 movies now. 6. Speaking of 6, at number 6 we have Three-Headed Shark Attack. This movie is absolutely just wild, coming out in 2015 and starring Danny Trejo and Rob Van Dam of all people from ECW. It definitely left a big splash. It stars a bunch of teenagers visiting an atoll when a mutated three-headed shark shows up and starts attacking them. Along the way, it attacks boats full of people, and our man Danny Trejo gets involved somehow. This movie is just wild on so many levels, and the creative ways that the shark kills people is just the stuff of legends. You'd be really hard-pressed to watch this movie and not crack a number of smiles, especially from seeing Danny Trejo in such a predicament. He even gets a machete, so even he's in on the joke. The shark looks decent enough, and the acting isn't half bad. I certainly like this movie. At number 5, we have the movie that I actually got sponsored to look at, and that is Bad CGI Sharks. And I'm not shilling for them, I can tell you that this is a good movie and a funny one at that. Coming out in 2019 and being a completely independently funded movie, it was quite interesting. Barely any of the movie even takes place at the beach, and all of it involves sharks with really bad CGI, as the name implies. It stars two brothers who had a dream of one day making a shark movie, and documented the whole thing in their journal, complete with really bad drawings. Somehow their dream comes to life, and a bunch of really terrible looking sharks show up and start attacking the neighborhood. There really is no other shark movie like this, and this is definitely the most meta movie on this list. It's certainly intriguing, I can give it that, and if you want something that really examines shark movies as a whole, this is the movie. At number 4, we have Roboshark, which came out in 2015. The movie takes place in Seattle, and to say it has an interesting plot would be an understatement. Basically, aliens launch a probe to Earth and it lands in the ocean. A shark eats the probe and becomes a red-lined robotic monster. The shark then does whatever the hell it wants and goes wherever the hell it wants and starts feeding on the people of Seattle. It's a robot and it doesn't need any water, so this thing just goes around wherever it wants, through the ground. It goes through a mall at one point. It even jumps into the sky. At one point it even has a Twitter account and tried to talk to one of the main characters. This movie is just insane for the most part. It's absolute B-level gold, and this movie just knows it and goes whole hog with it. It fully embraces how ridiculous it is and just goes all the way with it, and it had me smiling the entire movie. Yeah, it is a bit far-fetched, that's for sure, but that's really what makes the movie even better, and the government is just out of control in this movie. At number 3, we have Deep Blue Sea. Yeah, I had to put at least one really recognizable movie on this list. Coming out in 1999 and starring a variety of popular people like Samuel L. Jackson, LL Cool J, and even more, the movie was a Hollywood success back when it came out, and many people consider it the second best shark movie behind Jaws. Taking place in an underwater facility in the middle of an ocean, it has a what-if scenario where scientists enlarge sharks' brains in hopes of defeating cancer. However, the sharks become too smart for everyone's own good and break out and begin hunting the humans. Not only do the people have to contend with these now incredibly smart sharks, but they also have to deal with the facility being caved in by the water. It is quite a claustrophobic movie, and for the time there was nothing at all like this. For the late 90s, the CGI was stellar, the acting was great, and the production values were top-notch. Nowadays, it has aged quite a bit, but I still think it is a rather enjoyable movie, and if you want to see Samuel L. Jackson in a shark movie, this is the only time you're going to get it. Regardless, it's an absolute classic. At number 2, we have Ghost Shark 2 Urban Jaws, which came out in 2015. Out of all the movies on this list, it is easily the funniest movie, and I'd argue it's one of the funniest movies ever made. It's extremely underrated as well. Not actually being a sequel to anything, Ghost Shark 2 stars a mayor in Auckland, New Zealand, who finds out that a ghost shark is attacking the city. He calls in a ghost shark hunter, and the two of them try to take this bastard down. Now, this shark can go anywhere that has water. The shower, the ocean, your tears, even lube. This shark can just get anybody. It can literally teleport too. It can even just fly at one point. The acting is as over the top as it gets. The characters are hilarious, the plot is ridiculous, and the shark itself is the star. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but just know that if you need a movie that will absolutely cheer you up and make you laugh out loud a bunch, there is no better movie to watch than this. Every single scene has tons of laughs, and there just has never been a shark movie that's ever been this funny. Whether it's the just terrible CGI, ludicrousy of the entire situation, or the fact that it's literally a fake sequel, this movie is a must-watch for all sharkaholics. And now, this movie has no relation to Sci-Fi Ghost Shark. If you know about that one, there's no relation. But what would be better to watch in a quarantine than this? Only one movie.
Goddamn Ghost Shark!
God, this looks like ass already.
Well, what better movie to watch when you're stuck at your house all day than House Shark? an independent movie from 2017, House Sharks stars a man named Frank, who's just trying to live a good life for him and his kid, and his house gets invaded by a house shark. The shark lives in the house, it can move through the pipelines, it lives in the walls. Oh yeah, it's crazy. If you're stuck inside, unsure of what to watch, what better movie to watch than a movie where its main characters are stuck in a house as well? Only they have a giant killer shark to come after them. There's no beaches, there's not even like any water, but the shark is here and it is trying to stay. The acting is cheesy and it's as B-movie as it gets. The shark really has its own character and just looks fantastic. It's absolutely a comedy and the movie goes full force with it. Again, I don't want to give too much away, but this is a really stellar movie. You'd be really hard pressed to not laugh at it. I mean, just look at the name. If you think it's bad right now with you being stuck indoors and the weather's great and all that, it could be worse. You could be stuck indoors and a shark could be in your house. So please watch this movie. In fact, watch any of the movies on this list. If you know anything about any of these movies on this list, tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. I'm not exactly doing anything at the moment. And those were 10 shark movies to watch during quarantine. I will say, you could definitely spend your time worse than watching these movies, and all of them are certainly unique. But, yeah, that's what I gotta say about these 10 movies. Before we go, I will say I have looked a little more in depth at every single one of these movies on my channel, and I have a playlist dedicated to all of these reviews. If you check out even one of my reviews on these shark movies, I would be ecstatic. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, again, check out my older shark movie reviews maybe, or not. Do whatever you want. You could comment, that'd be cool too. Subscribing would be best if you want to keep up with me. And, I don't know, shoot me a message. What's your favorite shark movie? I don't know. Tell me anything. I'm down for whatever. Either way, stay safe everyone, and have a great Christmas.
God damn, go Sharks!